Okay, so yeah, so we'll start with the Java.
Yeah,
So can you please tell me the Java 8 features?
Java 8, yeah, it was a complete change when Java 8 came in. Like we were only focused on object-oriented programming. There was nothing to address functional programming. So Java language designers, they introduced functional programming. And as a part of functional programming, we got lambdas, we got method references, which has actually, shrinked our code. And it is like you just you do not have to write imperative code. You just write one line, and it is doing all the process. So for that, we have some enhancement in our collection framework where we have stream. So with that stream, we can have intermediate methods and the terminal methods, and rather, we can do so many things in more efficient ways. So that is one thing. I think in Java 8 we did not have something concrete for the time. It was just a part of utility. Or maybe I remember I was using some third party Zeta or something, but now we have a dedicated package for time, right? So these were the changes. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So what is Stream API and why it
Stream.
is?
Mhm. Okay. What was the second question? Sorry, I just started speaking.
Uh, okay, why it is introduced in Java 8?
Yeah. So right now, if you see, there was a use case. Like you have a collection, and you want to do some, manipulate the data inside the collection. You have to dedicate. You have to take out that content of collection. You want to perform some action that will take your space, right? And then again, when you have your desired manipulated data, then you have to again put it in a collection. So it is a overhead, but in stream you actually do not use more space. It is just like on one collection you say that give me the content of this collection as a stream, and I want to do couple of these things on it, and once it is done with the terminal method, let me just extract it out. So this is one use case where stream is helpful. And then it also gives you parallel stream, so you do not have to, as a developer, I do not have to go and write thread safe code while I'm doing it. I just have to say that give me this collection dot parallel stream, and then whatever the function or mapping, whatever I want to do, I can do. So it actually is for benefit of developers. So it is taking away, it is abstracting all those things inside that API.
Okay, fine. Uh, so do you know what are the terminals methods that we are using in the Stream?
Yeah, there are a couple. I mean, if you want to print it, you can use for each, or if you want to reduce it to, something like there is a stream and you just want to have maximum or something like this, or count, you can use dot reduce. Or even if you have everything in the end, if you put dot get, that will also give you. There are more terminal methods. So
Okay,
dot collect is one which I like. I mean, it has so many benefits in the collectors. You can do a lot of things.
okay. What is the difference between the parallel stream and sequential stream?
So it is about, I mean, the way we process the data. In the sequential stream, you take, one by one. In parallel stream, you see if there is no mutually, shared variable or anything, the different thread can work on it. I mean, as I told you, it is beyond our view. It is under the hood. It is happening when you write dot parallel stream.
Okay. What is functional interface?
Functional interface says that you should have one interface and it should have only one abstract method. It can have other static default method with the definition, but you only have one abstract method. So this actually helps us to have, a single, I mean, when the moment you see a functional interface, you know, okay, what it does, because it has only one real job, right? So that is functional interface.
Okay. Okay. Can you share your screen and write a small program for like you have to write a program to find the highest occurrence of the integer number in an array?
Highest occurrence of, right?
Yeah, highest occurrence. Declare one array and pick a. Just tell me the write a logic.
Okay, yeah, only the logic I'll say. So as I told you, I'll use stream because if I have to use, traditional way, then I have to create a map and then I have to add this first item and then I see whether it is added or not. If it is not added, I'll give the value as 1. If it is added, then I take the value and just increment by 1. So it will have one for loop going through whole array. So that is the old way we can do it. Or there are other ways, like I can create one array of, Boolean where everything is false and then I check, is it in the list? If it is, then it's true and then count plus 1. So those are the, like that can do the job, but it will not be, the efficient. So I'll say if I have to use stream and I will
You can write that is fine. You can write code in a Java 8 as well.
Java?
8.
Java.
You have used the Java 8 code, right? Arrays
Yeah.
as list, and you are using a stream.
Yeah.
So you have
So,
to declare the integer numbers.
sorry, come again.
Yeah, you have to find out the occurrence of the integers. So can you repeat the numbers like the 2, 3 times or 4, 2 times?
Okay, I get your point.
Yeah, okay.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what we can use here, we can use grouping by, okay, and I can pass a function since it is from the array. I'm only getting the occurrence of it, so I can say function dot identity, okay, and then I want it in hash map. So I mean, once I have the hash map, I can tell you that whose occurrence is more. So I say hash map new. Okay, and then I'm saying that count it. So I will like collect dot give you a map where you have frequency of all these integers, and then we can print one with the highest the counting. Yeah.
Okay, fine. You can stop the. Why string is immutable in Java?
String, because we use string in string pool, and that can be used by different that can be pointed from the different objects, right? So if you make it mutable and you let one thread change it to a thread which is being shared among others, then we'll have an inconsistent state. So that's why we need to have string as immutable.
Okay. Okay. So have you worked on the multi-threading?
Yes, I have worked.
Okay.
Not
so
much,
what is
but yeah.
Yeah. So have you worked on the executor part?
Yeah, executor, using executor service and creating, new thread pool or fixed thread pool. Yeah.
So how you implement the executor?
So you write executor and then you use executor service. There are 4 or 5 types of creating a thread pool. You can have a fixed size thread pool. There are others I don't remember right now, but yeah, you can have like, let's say, a fixed thread pool of 5. So now you have the threads. Now you want tasks. So now it depends on your use case what kind of task you want to create. If you want to create runnable tasks, create runnable tasks and assign those, submit those runnable tasks to these threads. Or if you have the callable task, you can it's just like set of threads waiting for the execute the task. So you can create your tasks separately. You have your thread and then you use them.
And what is the return type? Means how will collect the response from that thread?
If you are using runnable, it does not return anything to you. You just fire and forget. And if you want to receive something, let's say that you want to have asynchronous right?
Mhm.
You want to call a method and then you don't want to wait there. We can use future here. So then there your task should be callable and it will return you an int, right? And on that basis, you can determine whether that service where you called responded you or not.
Exception in your project.
Exception, I create these, what do you say? The custom exceptions, yeah. So
So
you only handle, so there are runtime exceptions. So for me, runtime exceptions are kind of bug in your project. So you do not catch them, you fix them. So the only the checked exception where your exception is, what do you say them? Valid exception. Let's say you are looking for a file and it is not at that file path. So those are checked exceptions. So for them, you can create your custom exception. You can extend exception. You can use couple of constructor how you want to capture that exception and how you want to propagate it with the message with the stack trace. So those things.
okay, so suppose I have the service, I'm consuming the third-party services, and I got the exceptions from that services. So how do you handle it, and what are the annotation that we need to use?
You're talking about in Spring?
Yeah, I'm
Spring.
talking about the Spring Boot.
Okay. So uh, I don't remember correctly right now. There is one annotation. If you say so, if you put that on a class, it says that okay, it is handling your exception.
Okay,
Uh, I
okay,
don't remember right now. Sorry.
okay, fine. What is auto configuration in Spring Boot?
As auto configuration, it gives this permission to Spring Boot to configure all the things what it finds in the cloud, when it is scanning. So it will do all these things automatically when you fire the Spring Boot application.
You use the Swagger in your application?
No, I have not used it firsthand, but I have seen. Read some tutorials about that. So it is just like from the UI end, you are actually hosting all your all your endpoints, and you show them in at one place that with the help of Swagger UI that you can actually see all your application endpoints there, and then what it accept, what it consumes, what it produces. So everything is there. So
Okay. What is the difference between controller and REST controller?
yeah, so controller was old when it was in the Spring. So I remember when I had to write at the rate controller, I had to also write response body. So let's say I have like 10 endpoints in that class, so I have to write at the rate response body 10 times. So these guys at Spring, they realize, okay, we can actually club them together. So now at the rate controller and at the rate response is clubbed together as the at the rate rest controller.
Okay. Okay. Suppose I want to consume a website. What is your approach? What's the how you are designing the REST API?
Okay. So, the basic thing what I think of when I have to consume something, I look for the resources. I call it the domains, and these nouns should be verbs. So let's say you want to consume the photos from somewhere, so we can use get HTTP verb and it will give us all the photos. Or if you want to send a path variable, get me this ID. And then when you are writing the controller, you can write these days rather than having at the rate request mapping, you can have at the rate get mapping, right? And then you can give the URL on which you want to fall, right? When you call the endpoint URL, right?
Okay. And how you are producing and consuming the web services? Are there
Sorry.
any annotations for it?
So come again. Sorry.
Okay. Suppose I want to produce a JSON. So what are annotations I need to declare?
You want to Oh, so you are saying that this endpoint has to produce JSON, right?
Yeah. So
Okay. So you might be using post here.
mhm,
So you have to use post verb, and then since you are using controller, JSON is by default. Like even if you do not write application slash text comma JSON, what it produces, it uses. If I take you back in the Spring, we have these message converters. So JSON is the default here right now. So you can create a post, and then you have to hit this endpoint from the postman with all the detail you want to send, and then whatever you want to do. I mean, maybe you just want to display it on the website, or you want to persist it. This JSON. So
mhm.
this will flow. This will follow that line then. So you create one post. You at the rate post mapping, right? And then you say in the bracket that since it is post mapping, you'll be sending data, right? So there will be request body in that, right? And in that request body, let's say you're passing this JSON using a model. Let's say student, and a student has name, age, everything. So you just map all the data on this object. You pass it to this post endpoint in Postman, and then when you see it, it will come to you as JSON as a response. If you are just
Okay.
displaying it, yeah.
Okay. What is the difference between the path param and request param?
Path param you send in the get. I mean, it comes as a part of your URL. Request comes as the body.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Uh, have you used the Git or SVN? Which we are using?
Git. I mean, SVN also and Git also. We have two projects. Some old projects are still on SVN. We are trying to move it to Git. But yeah, I use GitHub to access Git.
Okay. So what is difference between the Git pull and Git page?
Uh, um, so I mean, I do not. I mean, it also does some other things in this. Excuse me. Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain the microservices architecture?
Yes. Microservice is like production ready services. So microservices says there is no exact science, but if you in your business identify that okay, these are the businesses which can run separately with less connection with as component service A, service B, service C, and all these services. So now the problem comes to okay, so you have all these services you created. So to run a microservice, you need more components. Let's say your client one of this service, so how would you let them connect to these services? So for that we have these API gateways. So I mean, you connect to your, it actually sits between services, and then again once you reach the API gateway, now how you discover that where is your services deployed, because it is changing dynamically, right? You have server side discovery and client side discovery, like Eureka client side discovery, right? So it discovers for you. So that is a simplistic view I am telling you. But since it is services in this architecture, you need to take care of so many things. Let's say the logging. How would you do that? Because logging is happening in every services. Then we need to take help of message broker, Kafka, and Kafka. With the Kafka, we'll put we use a Sloth, and from Sloth we can actually put it in Jipkin, and from there we can use it with Stick or Grafana, however you want to consume that. We need these many components to run a microservices.
Okay, fine. So, in your project, you said that you have used microservices. So, how you do your transactions?
So I'll tell you, like in this right now, what I'm doing, I not create the microservices, but yeah, here in the same company, I was in a different project, so I had to give an that was a copying service. So we were just copying one file to a different location. So I did not encounter transaction in that.
Means, are you using the CI/CD or how you deploy your pod?
So yes, while I was in that team where I was writing services, then it was a CI/CD tool. So what we used to do in the Git, we used to check in our code. Git was hooked to Jenkins. It was listening on SSH. So whenever we check in something, it triggers a build, and this artifact goes to uh, this artifact goes to. I mean, there I think we had this Kubernetes cluster. So Kubernetes cluster, it will just take this image and then it will run it as a container in some of the pod. So I mean, yeah. So this part was already in place.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, yeah. What are the design pattern you have used?
I've used many, like you use singleton, like the one example in Spring only, like whenever you write @service. So you say that Spring that, hey, this is a service. I need only a single, singleton scope. Bean scope should be singleton. So that is one. I'll tell you I'll tell you the new one what I have encountered recently. So when I was working with that, so I was exploring this Spring security, and in that Spring security, I saw that okay, the way the authentication manager work, they use actually what do you call that, provider pattern. Then there is a builder pattern, and when we are creating that user and the password. So in that you do not have to create all these objects. Like with new, you just you append it like a bracket dot b this. So that is a builder pattern. Then a provider pattern where there is a provider, it delegates the task to the manager. Like if it is a different kind of security, like username password based, it will go to that manager. If it is LDAP, it will go somewhere. Kerbos, it goes somewhere else.
Okay, so can you please explain me the adapter design pattern?
Yes. Um, so I told you that was the provider. Okay. Adapter. I have used it. Sorry, not
Okay,
coming something off my head. Yeah.
have you used the factory design pattern?
Yeah, factory I have used. I mean, when you create a separate class, which takes the responsibility of creating the objects. So you call the factory to get the object for that.
Okay, and what is the difference between the factory and abstract factory?
A factory and
Abstract factory.
abstract factory. I've seen this in hierarchy, abstract factory and factory design. But I can make a guess, but I do not know the real difference right now. Or maybe I cannot remember.
Okay. So, have you worked on the Hibernate?
Yes, I have worked on it.
Okay, what is lazy loading in the Hibernate?
It actually waits to load the bean when you actually need it. So there are two ways. Either you start that system and then it will, if it is eager loading, it will load all the beans needed for the application to run. If it is lazy loading, it will wait for, when you actually move to that piece, when you actually need that. So then it will fire that bean. But these days, I mean, in the Springboot, when I was working, I was simply using Spring Data. That was like much easier than Hibernate. I mean, like personal favorite. So you just have to extend CRUD repository or JPA repository, and you do not even have to write any method in that. You just say find. With find you can get things from the database. With save you can save it in the database, right? So
Okay, so what are the
Mhm.
okay, fine. What are the disadvantage of Hibernate?
Disadvantage. So the one thing what I was telling you, in the Hibernate you have to define, HQL. You have to take care of all that, but you so I think there are more work involved when you are working with Hibernate. But if you are only using Spring Data, which is backed by this in JPA, persistent API, here you just create a at the rate entity, and you just tag your all the fields with all the column name, and you are ready to interact with database. You do not have to have a in the Hibernate you have to explicitly give in a configuration file that what database you want to use, right? So all those overheads.
Okay, fine. Suppose I want to connect two database. So how you implement in your code?
Yeah, I mean that can be done. I mean, uh, you can create a repository configurer. There you can give which one is primary and which one is not, and you can create two beans of one with two different credential connecting to different databases. That can be done. We just have to define two beans, saying that one is going to, let's say, Oracle, one is going to MS SQL, and then we can use these beans whenever needed as per requirement.
Okay, okay, fine. How you handle the pagination in Hibernate?
Um, in the Hibernate, for the pagination, what I did, I remember I was using CRUD repository. I just changed it to JPA repository because I saw in the documents it says that JPA has paging and the sorting. So those two are already there. So I did not have to do anything. But yeah, I did not work it in Hibernate.
So how you handle in JPA?
So JPA, rather than extending CRUD repository, you can extend JPA repository. So it already extend pagination and sorting. So then it will give you those methods of pagination, and you can use it rather than implementing on your own or anything. Then you can configure it accordingly. Yeah.
Okay. So what is association in the Hibernate?
I have heard this, but right now I do not remember.
Okay, fine. In which database you are currently working?
Oracle.
Oracle. Okay. What is the difference between the primary key and foreign key?
Primary key is to identify the rows uniquely in your table. But there are times when your table is dependent on other tables. So then you say that how these two tables are connected. That is where foreign key comes. So like primary key of one table can be foreign key of another table.
Okay. Okay. So have you written the store procedure or functions in the database?
Yeah, I have written, these CTEs, common table expressions type thing, with the with clause. So I had I had to query couple of more than 3 or 4 tables. So I use this with as XYZ, select this from this, comma with this, and then I can create a ladder of this, and then in the end I can have gathered all the columns from A, B, C, D. So this is what I did.
Okay. Suppose I have a one table, and how to find the duplicate record from that table? Suppose you can take employee table
So you want to have duplicate?
record from that table.
So we can use distinct, right? It will give you all the distinct.
But I want the count of that each. Suppose my name is repeated 3 times, your name is repeated 2 times. So I want the count of each name. So how can the query for it?
This can be done. So you want to select. So you, I mean, are we? So in that table, we are only focusing on the names, like how many times names has been repeated, right?
That's correct.
We can group by name.
Okay.
We can group by name and then we count it, like how many times it came. Something we can do with this, with the group by.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine.